In this, our last lesson in the Sew Me the Money section of this course, we're going to talk about teaching others to sew. And we'll start right out with lesson plans and handouts and how important they are. So when you're going to teach, no matter where you're teaching, it's important to have a plan of what you're going to teach. I like to use bulleted outlines, but you may want to start out with a complete written plan, whatever works best for you. But you want to have something that'll help you stay on track so you make sure you cover all the key important points of the class that you're teaching. You also would want to consider handouts. Students just feel more confident when you hand them something that helps remind them of what they learned. And I have a couple of handouts that we'll make available to anyone who wants to teach Islander systems. And one of them is our slot zipper, and it's the step-by-step slot zipper directions. But on that handout, I give them that information. I'm going to teach them how to put the zipper in, but I'm going to give them the handout to take home so that it'll help remind them of each of the steps. But that's not all I'm going to put on that handout. On that handout, I'm going to put my contact information so that they can get a hold of me. Sometimes I put on that handout a discount code to go to my website to purchase products from me, so that it gives them even a more incentive to hang on to the handout and to get in touch with me again very soon. So handouts are very important, and lesson plans are as well. Of course, the lesson plan is going to stay with you. And I oftentimes, especially when I first started teaching, I'd have that bulleted outline sitting near me or on the podium when I was teaching, so I could, again, stay on track. It's easy to get distracted, especially when you have eager students and they start asking questions, so you can always refer back to your bulleted points. So tips for quality teaching. One of the things that you want to consider is after each class, you want to ask your students to fill out a critique form. I'm going to supply you with an example of the critique form that I use. But basically, the critique form should be anonymous unless the student wishes to put their name on there. And I would encourage them to, if they would like to have, if they have a question that they put on this critique form and they'd like to hear from you directly, then encourage them to give their contact information. Something like, if you would like me to directly answer this question, please give me your contact information and I'll send you an email, a response. The other thing is you want to keep it very simple. You don't want to ask them to fill out a 3-page survey. 3 questions and 1 place to write comments is pretty much all you need. And ask them to answer the questions on a good, satisfactory, excellent form, or on a 1 to 5 scale. I'm sure you understand, and I will provide you with my example of what I use, but you just want to get some basic feedback. Leave a spot on the critique form for them to fill in a comment, and then also, if they would like that comment answered by you, ask them to put their contact information so that you can, after the class, get back with them and to answer their question. Now, I know it's hard to ask people to critique you, so you got to put on your brave face and do it anyway, because it's the best education about your teaching skills you're going to get, and it's the best way to hone your skills. You may find out that 3 people wrote, you say a lot. So you know what you have to work on. Or maybe they say, you said you were going to teach XYZ and you never taught that. Oh my gosh, I forgot that. I didn't stick to my lesson plan. I need to stick to my lesson plan. So it'll just give you that information that you need to be a better teacher. And then after you have developed a nice following and you've taught a lot of different places, then it might be time to get out and teach in a larger or more national event. But don't try to start out in a national event. And I'll elaborate on that. Now, one place you might want to teach is you might want to teach children. So you want to think about, I could teach children in an after-school program, or I could teach children to sew and they could come to my house, and there's lots of people who have set up small programs and have after-school programs for children. Now, take stock. Am I good with children? Do I enjoy teaching children? Is this where I belong? Teaching children is very different than teaching adults. Do you have experience with teaching children? Maybe you think it'll sound good. Maybe you should try it out with a few neighborhood kids and see how it goes, or offer to do a class for your local 4-H group. And then you'll find out if that really works well for you. Maybe you want to teach in fabric stores. Teaching in a fabric store or a sewing machine dealer is very different than teaching anywhere else. Let me give you some examples. You go to your local sewing machine dealer and you say, I have this great class on applique. I am a whiz at applique. I've got this fabulous class. It lasts 2.5 hours. And you give the lesson plan and the dealer says, yes, I love the idea. We'll put it on the docket. You agree on a certain payment. You teach the class. The students are thrilled. This is the best applique class I've ever taken. You're a wonderful teacher. I can't wait to see you again. You're elated. Next week, you call up the dealer and say, gee, would you like to schedule another class? And the dealer says, no, thank you. And you wonder, why did that happen? Okay, your agenda for going in to teach at this dealer's store is to be a teacher and to teach the best class you can teach. That's not the agenda of the dealer. He may not tell you that. May he expect that you should reason this out for yourself. But the dealer's anticipation is to sell product. That's what he's in business for. So when you go to sell or go to teach your class in a fabric store or a sewing machine dealer, you are partnering. You're becoming a partner with these people. And if you want to continue to teach in that environment or be invited back many times, you need to support their agenda, which is to sell product. Does that mean you have to be a salesperson or do a hard sell or close a sale? No, it doesn't mean that at all. But what it means is if they've got a particularly brand new product in their store and they're really excited about it, take a look at it. See if maybe that's a product that you could build into or would be beneficial to the classes that you teach. Do some test driving on some of their equipment to make sure that there is equipment that you can operate smoothly and that you can encourage the students to enjoy and expound on the different qualities of it. But again, you don't have to be a salesperson. You just need to be a partner to that dealer. Another thing is that when you teach a class, oftentimes you're using your favorite little tools. And then the students say, where did you get that? I want one of those. Now, if the dealer or the fabric store didn't know you were going to promote that and they only have one on the shelf, and you had 15 people in your class and 10 of them wanted it, they just lost 9 sales. So what you want to do in advance of teaching at an event like that is consider what are those different products that you're going to be touting on and bragging about, and let that store know this is the list of items that I am going to be talking about in my class, so that in advance they can make sure they have the inventory to support that. And if they do and the students buy it, then that's a feather in your cap, and now you are going to be invited back. But just remember, you're partnering with them. I'll tell you one other thing one of our certified instructors does. She goes to a big fabric store up in Canada and teaches Islander sewing systems. And at the beginning of her first break of the class, she says to the students, would you like to go on a tour of the notions wall? And so the students follow behind her, and she goes through all of the different notions on the walls and explains to them what they are and why she likes them and how they're used. And so many times these people are following right behind her, grabbing the notions off the wall, saying, oh, I didn't know that they made one of those. I didn't know that's what that was for. I didn't know I wanted that, until she takes them through the store. And they're right behind her with their little baskets, filling up their baskets. And I well imagine the owner of the store is saying, yes, that's what I want to see. So that is a very different way of teaching, and you want to stay in partnership, but I don't want you to think that you aren't going to be teaching quality classes. You still want to maintain that integrity, and maybe you find that you teach at a store and it's not the environment for you. That's fine. There's lots of other opportunities. Community ed is another way. Now, if you like teaching adults, community ed would be a great place to teach. Usually it's people who want to just develop their hobby or learn a new hobby oftentimes. And so it's a great place to get that experience in teaching. How much it pays, it's going to depend on your local area, and sometimes the pay is negotiable. Oftentimes with courses, even in the fabric stores and dealers, they just want to get those people engaged in their store, and they don't need a large percentage of what you're charging for the class. You may get the lion's share of what they're bringing in for the class just because they like the fact that you keep the people engaged and keep coming into the store. Now, if you teach, you might want to teach at sewing guilds. There's lots of guilds, quilting and sewing guilds around the country. But when you teach at a sewing guild, you have a different agenda than you did with the fabric store, than you did with the community ed, or you had with the children. And the reason is the guilds are often very social. And so people come to guild events to be with their friends once a month or every other week, whatever their time period is. And sometimes they come to this event that you're teaching at because they want to be socially active with their sewing friends, and maybe they're not as interested in the subject as you'd like them to be. So what I've learned over the years is I can spot those people that are just there for the fun of it, they're not as invested in learning, and I just relax with them. I don't push that student. Don't push them, because they're very likely to be frustrated if you do. So their agenda isn't as much about learning, and you have to be able to identify that person. You also have to be able to identify that person in that group that might be challenging you a lot. Sometimes they challenge everything you say. They don't, well, I don't do it that way, or my mother never told me I could sew without pins. And you have to have your big smile on your face and be able to address those without disturbing the rest of the class. You may have a person in the class that wants to monopolize all your time, constantly over here, constantly wanting you to answer their questions. And you can start to sense that they're taking up more than their fair share of the class time. This is going to start to make you sweat a little bit, and some of the other students start to mumble, and you lose the camaraderie of the class when that happens. So before that gets too far afield, what I will oftentimes say to that student who needs a lot of my attention, maybe they're not as skilled as the rest of the class, you know what, when we have a break, I'll come over and I'll go over all of this with you again. That way, I've calmed them down and I'm able to continue with the other students at the pace that they need. So you need to always be aware and be able to identify who that person is. Interesting class descriptions are very, very important. And I produce a sewing expo where I hire over 40 teachers a year, and I get a lot of class descriptions, and I have to rewrite most of them. Most of them are, in this class, you will learn this, and then you will learn that, and then you will learn the other thing. Does that sound exciting? No. So you've got to be able to put some punch, some alliteration, some excitement. Let them know what they're going to learn, but make it sound like it's fun, because it is. Give some excitement, some punch to it. I'll give you a couple of examples in the workbook so you can see exactly what I mean. But class descriptions can make all the difference between getting people to sign up for your class and having a class bomb. And it's the same class, it's just how you describe it. I want to talk quickly about teacher certification programs. And of course, the Islander certification program is the one you're looking at right now. And we really pride ourselves in this program. But basically, we're giving you some overall information about being in business for yourself and about teaching, but we're also giving you a program that you can teach that is proven and it works very well. There are other programs out there, and there's become a lot of them. You want to do your investigation and see if that program is going to benefit you or if it's just going to be a fun class to take, and then identify whether it's going to be of any benefit. There's a couple of programs out there that are just teacher programs, and oftentimes I hear from people, I took that course, but it didn't do anything. It didn't advance my teaching skills, and it didn't get me jobs, and that's what I was hoping for. When you become a sewing teacher in this world, you're going to most likely be an entrepreneur, and you're working for yourself. There are a few opportunities for teaching sewing that you might be able to be hired to do. But if you want to be an entrepreneur and teach for yourself, then you need to really investigate these different certification programs and decide which ones are beneficial, which ones are going to work for you, and which ones might not be worth your time. So, but all I can tell you is nobody's going to give you a certification program that's going to make you an instant success. That's all up to you. And so learn to be, to present classes in an exciting and an imaginative way, be very organized, support your students, let them know that you care if they're successful and you want to be a part of their success. When you teach a class, do not stay at the front of the room. This might sound very elementary, but I have seen teachers that will just stay at their seat. We're not teaching high school. We're not teaching college. We're out there teaching more to hobbyists, and we want to be engaged with them. So, for instance, when I do an Islander sewing systems class, I'll show them how to put a zipper in. They all come up and they watch me put the zipper in. Then they go back to put the zipper in. I don't sit there and wait for them to finish. I get up on my feet and I walk back and forth through the class. And the minute somebody raises their hand, I'm probably only 2 feet from them. I can get right over to them and address their question. In the meantime, I might be looking around the room and I see somebody who's doing exactly the opposite of what they should be doing. I can say, wait, here's what you want to do first before you do that. Oh, thank you. And so stay engaged the whole time. It's exhausting, particularly to teach an all-day class. I'll be on my feet almost the entire time, except for when I'm demoing. And I'm running sometimes from one student to the next, and sometimes you've got a student in class, again, who needs more help than the rest. So you're always running back and forth to that same student and trying to keep everybody up at the same pace. So, but staying engaged is what will make all the difference in the success of the students, the success of the class, and the success of you as a teacher. It's a very, very rewarding vocation. I absolutely love it. I came about it by accident. I never anticipated being a teacher, let alone a sewing teacher, in my early years, but I found that it is extremely rewarding and I really enjoy it. And I really enjoy presenting this class to you, and I want you to know, remember, post your questions on the discussion board. I want to be a part of your success, and I'll be there for you. You'll be able to have contact with me at any time, and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. Thanks so much for being a part of this program.